So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 64554633728. And I just listened to Joe Rogan's podcast from a day ago, it says, with Andy Stumpf. He's a ex-Navy SEAL and he's a podcaster, amongst other things. Some of the things that jumped out at me were one, he was saying that he wishes people would get over their captivation with the military and military life. I don't know that he mentioned it, but I know Joe Rogan might have mentioned it, that the amount of people who get actually killed by the cops every year, of course, unfortunately, that's the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of people, I'm sure, that get really horribly injured by the cops as well. It's very relatively small. So, I mean, maybe it's about 900 people or 1,000 people who get killed by the cops every year. You know, that's really small compared to overall people who get killed by guns every year. Another thing that stood out to me was something that Joe Rogan mentioned, which is that Idris Elba, he actually had a Muay Thai fight. I think it was a professional Muay Thai fight. Yeah, it was, because he trained for it for a long period, and that was interesting. That was something that I had to look up. He also described being in the training process for a Navy SEAL, some of the things that he had to encounter, like being underwater using a rebreather for about 4 hours. That was the longest time that he said that he was there. They talked about eating ready-to-eat meals, like for an extended period of time. Apparently, it's not really that pleasant. And yeah. So anyway, with respect to the first thing that he mentioned, or the first thing that stood out to me, yeah, it's true. There are not that many people who get killed by the cops every year. It's a relatively small amount. He was saying that, well, earlier he had said that even the military is not so, 100% super selective. He was talking about someone that he personally knew who was in jail for, I guess, being a serial killer, him and his wife. And that was really interesting. And, he was saying that, yeah, there's no 100% way of screening people. And that if someone really wants to help a vet, what they should do is they can go ahead and help, but they really need to hold people to the same standard that they hold everybody else, and not let them slide because they were in the military. He was saying that people get so fascinated by the military, but for him, for his experience, what he had to do was not brain surgery. It wasn't rocket science. As a matter of fact, it was as simple as possible in order to achieve success. That the more complicated you make something, especially something that, a military operation, the higher the likelihood of failure. So that's what they had to do. He went so far as to joke that he could teach what he did to a chimp, you know? But people get so enamored by it. And it's, I guess people in the military really need to enjoy this time that we live in, because if you remember Vietnam and stuff, people spit on people in the military. And of course, that was horribly wrong because they were following orders. And not even following orders to do horrible things, every one of them, you know. A lot of people were just regular people, maybe in a hospital, maybe in administration, maybe whatever. Yes, in the country that they were going to fight. But at the same time, they might not have seen any active duty at all. But when they came back, a lot of people were upset with them. And right now, everything has turned full circle, and people are pretty much looking up to people in the military as they have them on this pedestal. A wartime president is more than likely going to be reelected if he has another term coming in the U.S. So I think what he said made sense. That, yeah, there is no need to expect that just because someone is in the military, that they're a better person than you are. Maybe they're tougher and they could, especially for a SEAL, but it doesn't mean that they're a better human being than you are and that they are necessarily looking out for the good of everyone, let's say. Well, certainly the serial killer guy was. But thing is that, they were mentioning that, yeah, it's not that many people that get killed by the police every year. But people, and Joe Rogan was saying, yes, he supports the police and he supports the law enforcement. But at the same time, they were saying something that didn't really make sense, which was that, oh, the cops have such a dangerous job. Well, there are 10% of the people who get killed by the police. That's the figure of cops that get killed in the U.S. every year. It's not 20 times as much. I don't know if they haven't looked at the figures, but if, there's a number that's 10 times as big as another number, and you say, well, that 10 times as big number isn't that bad, then the number of cops getting killed by people being that small means that their job isn't that dangerous. I understand that a lot of law enforcement people think that their job is that dangerous, but being a garbage collector is more dangerous than being a policeman when it comes to dying on the job. I think people should really look that up instead of just feeling that, oh yeah, is that a shotgun pointed at me from this tinted window? No, it isn't a shotgun pointed at you. You are safe. You're good. You guys kill 10 times as many people as kill you. So I think there's a little bit of a disconnect with their information on what they think really happens in life from that point of view. And it was kind of interesting to listen to the guy because one might say that he knows his limits. He says he's not adventurous when it comes to so many things that he had to go through while he was a SEAL. Like, he doesn't want to go in the water anymore. He doesn't want to have much to do with the ocean or swimming or anything like that anymore because he's been through a lot, especially, I guess, as a SEAL. He's not too adventurous when it comes to eating. I guess he had a bad experience with respect to having Thai food, he said, and other types of food, I would imagine. But the thing about it is that it just goes to show you that no matter what thing you're in, what field you're in, there's a lot of different types of people, And they were talking about one particular guy who was, I guess he's also an ex-SEAL, and he was a kind of a martial arts guy as well, a mixed martial arts guy. And they were talking about how that guy gets up at 4 and he exercises so much and inspires so many people by doing this and whatever. And this other guy is kind of like, yeah, I think he had some injuries and whatever else. But this other guy, Andy Stumpf, he was like, I know my limits. I'm not into this. I'm not into that. I'm not into whatever. And he was even recounting how the only reason why he got into martial arts was because to shut up a friend of his. And I thought that was so funny. He was like, yeah, the more you tell me to do something, the less I'm likely I am to do it. But obviously in that case, it wasn't the case because he wanted to shut the guy up. And he started doing it and he realized that he liked it. And I think he's been doing it for a year and a half. And he's saying like, he realizes how little he knows by his experience, by being in it for the amount of time that he has. He realizes that there's so much more that he needs to find out. But I mean, Joe Rogan was telling him about wearing a cup when he was sparring with other people, and he was like, "Nope, I'm not interested." And I was like, "Wow, it's just I'm sure that there are lots of other SEALs who are, you know, more adventurous, and actually maybe their mind or their brain was open to a lot of different things because of their experiences. But this guy is a lot of things that he doesn't want to have anything to do with because of his experiences. So seems like a nice guy. It's just I was so surprised at how many things he's like, nope, I'm not interested in that. Nope, I'm not interested in that. So that was a little bit of a surprise. But I think also one of these things that he seems to be committed to, and I have to commend him, is that he wants to introduce a lot of law enforcement to holds and basically martial arts, mixed martial arts, holds, and ways to restrain people so that they don't have to end up going overboard. He talked about, even in the sparring, that I guess it was police officers, they were trying to restrain him. Like he presented himself as a non-compliant subject, and they were trying to restrain him. And the things that they were doing to him, not having had any training, made him actually want to ramp it up. And I thought, wow, you are here to to train them, to help in their training, and this is a secure environment. This is supposed to be a safe environment. And what they're doing to you makes you want to retaliate. So far less as people in an uncontrolled, ordinary environment, how these cops might be treating them because they don't know how to restrain people. They don't have any training in that at all. And what this is what we should expect people to retaliate. But this is one of the reasons why I like to have a lot of diverse information sources, because I think it presents the many things that we take for granted in the world, that a lot of law enforcement people have, well, not well, yeah, a lot of them have no idea how to properly restrain someone aside from just brute force, punching, kicking, uh, pepper spray, tasers. They don't know what to do. So because they don't know what to do, it can easily escalate because they can't control the people that they're supposed to be restraining. So it was a eye opener to listen to him. And of course, he has his, well, not of course, but he has his own podcast. And it was pretty interesting that they went for 2 hours and 53 minutes easy. And I thought that that was really kind of interesting that it could go that long. Of course, he's not rich and famous, so he doesn't have anywhere to be for the most part. In addition to that, I think that he hunts with a bow. Of course, he's into martial arts, like Joe Rogan as well. So I think that they had enough in common to drag that thing out for a good while. So, but anyway, guys, wish me luck. So you can like or unlike, you can comment and say why. You can subscribe or share, and of course, you can also do nothing. Peace.